helping more people reach the gold zone. So, yeah.
Beautiful. So thank you so much, Nicole. And as always, we have the help of Camilo. Camilo is always using all these platforms and helping us to make this possible. Camilo, anything you'd like to say before we begin?
I'm excited about the topic for today and to learn more about the green zone. Finally, we're in the green zone. So good.
All right. So well, thank you, Camilo. And we're a little bit higher today. That's why I'm so happy. We're in the gold zone today. So it's chapter 19. And before we start, we always like to hear from you. We always like to hear some wins, any progress, anything positive that you would like to share. So if you would like to share a win before we begin with the webinar, you can do that. You can type it in the chat. And also, I'm seeing that we are in Facebook Live as well. So you can just share your comments as well on Facebook. So anyone would like to share any wins to begin with today? If you want to do that, just you can write it or wave at us or just share it. So let's see, we have Tracy, we have Bjorn, that's Morgan just joining as well. Welcome. So in the meantime, so Nicole, any wins you'd like to share before we begin?
Yeah, I've had a really great week, and yeah, for me, I've had some really great sales this week, had some really great processing, and yeah, probably the biggest win is just being able to process my family, and I was able to give my 16-year-old a session, which was great, and just to see the shift in her, and we ran a clean slate on mom, so which was pretty cool to be able to do that and clean up any precepts she had on me, so which was pretty awesome. So yeah, really enjoyed that. And it's priceless being able to do those kind of things.
Oh my God, Nicole! I mean, that's a huge win. Like it's like if Seal would be here, she would say like top dad. I mean, that's a huge win. Congratulations! And I just love that Nicole is just sharing that. Oh yes, I processed with my 16-year-old, and we just did a clean slate. Oh, and by the way, the clean slate was about mom. I mean, that's like amazing. What a win! So, any other wins that you would like to share? Anyone else? Any wins you'd like to share? If you want to do it, just wave at us, or you can write it. Oh, Bjorn is sharing in the chat that he made it to the call. So welcome, Bjorn, and that's a win, of course. Great job. Congratulations. So any other wins before we start? We have Bjorn, we have Morgan, we have Inger. Welcome, Inger. Any other wins before we begin? Yes, Al, please.
I was with another little Zoom meeting like this with some other people, and I mentioned something about the Presence 3 process, which a lot of the people here may be familiar with. And one of the guys there was quite familiar with it. And I hadn't met him before. I mean, it was kind of a win just to meet this guy, but hear the reinforcement or the support for some of the processes here was, that was quite a win for me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much all for sharing that. Great win. Well done. Yay. Oh, and we have Morgan. We needed some extra help at our salon on Saturday with wedding services, and I was able to ask a few other people and found someone who is happy to help, which helps our team out so much. All right, so that's beautiful. Thank you, Morgan, and well done. Great win. Yes. Positive. So we love that. Congratulations. And so Nicole and I, we were chatting just before getting into the call, just because we're going to be talking about this chapter 19. And obviously you saw, if you read it, I hope you read it before, but there's 38 indicators, that would tell that you are in the goal zone, right? So we were just talking and trying to see what would be the best way just to share a holographic understanding of what the goal zone is. And that's really what we prepare today. So the first thing is that Nicole is going to share a little bit about the connection of the goal zone and you being in purpose. So she's going to be sharing a little bit about that. And we also prepare just a simple process and some suggestions that you can run and you can do just to really create a better understanding and just to create that holographic understanding, especially about this one, which is the Golson. But let's go with you, Nicole, and welcome again. And we really want to hear from you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Raul. And yeah, just it was just ready to share my story. Is that it was July 2017. I did a life and skills analysis. You can see the charts behind Raul, and I was pretty much at the bottom of the red zone. Like there was like almost like a flat line at the bottom of the red zone, and I had no idea what I wanted to do in life. I was struggling to get out of bed every day. I didn't have to do anything. And I was very grateful because Blair Singer recommended that I just put plans in place to get processing. And I started processing regularly. And by December, I was in the US and I had found my purpose, which was I wanted to become a processor. And I had a clear plan as to how I was going to pay for me to get to the course and the airfare from South Africa to the US. And we had changed our holiday plans and so that we could incorporate a trip to the US. And I dropped my girls off in London with my mom to look after the girls for the 10 days. And so began my journey of becoming a processor. And by creating that intention and being on purpose, things started to happen. And that was the December. And then March, I did the second VF course. And because I was doing that in April, I got invited to go to the Rich Dad book study with Seal and Jeff and Blair Singer. So it was pretty awesome to be able to do that. And I mean, I was on stage with Blair and Robert and Seal and Kim Kiyosaki. So it was like I went from this person that couldn't get out of bed to April, where I was on stage with Robert, Kim, Blair, and Seal. It was like 4 people that I really look up to. And then finished VF 1 to 5 by September of 2018. I had done that. And what happened through that process is Robert and Kim invited my husband, myself, and our 2 girls to go and speak in Australia. And so the 4 of us went to Sydney, Australia, and we got to speak as a family on stage there. And then we also got invited to go and speak in Thailand. So Australia, we spoke to probably about 150, 160 people. And then when we went to Thailand, we got to speak to, it was probably 2,500 people. And yeah, I mean, it was, I remember when we were sitting at the table during lunch, because we hadn't told our girls how many people they would be speaking in front of, because we didn't want to scare them. And I remember Michaela was taking a sip of water, and I had asked one, like I did it very gently and said, "Oh, so how many people are we expecting?" And they were like, "Oh, between 2,500 and 3,000 people." And it was like Michaela nearly spat her water across the table. She got such a fright. But it was an absolute gift because, just to go to Thailand and then have that experience and do it as a family and have it fully paid for as well was just an absolute gift. And through that process, I was on purpose. I was on mission. I reached out to anybody that I could in terms of processing. I started building my business, and I started from scratch, and in a year, I had built a pretty significant business where I was charging people. I have a really great client base, and just a lot of things in life started to go right. And if I look at what Alan says in chapter 19, he says, as vast positive life force particles are set free, you will also experience a huge leap in your ability to study and comprehend. And for me, that happened because I started processing. I was really, really red zone. Within 6 months of getting to the ranch, I was in the middle of the yellow zone. And by the end of the Vital Fundamentals of Processing Course 1, I was in the green zone. And I was just able to, my ability to sell increased, my ability to speak to people, my ability to study and understand what I was learning increased. And I just stuck with that process, and then life will become easier and easier, and your investments into the future will begin to return huge dividends. And that's what happened, is we got invited to places that, and people, to be with people that I never ever dreamed would happen. I mean, in Australia, I spoke with Kim at a ladies' event, and yeah, it was just to have Kim Kiyosaki ask me a question on stage. Somebody asked Kim a question and she went, oh, well, Nicole would be better suited to answer that. And it was just like, you kind of like, it's almost surreal, that kind of experience. But it created a space for us. You know, you will enter into an insatiable desire to acquire knowledge and help people. That's pretty much what happened. Is I was just learning all the time, and I found myself watching the lectures from the courses and just being wanting to help people. And what we did is in the November of 2018, I put 30 people into, or I guess 25 people into a room, and had Seal come to Johannesburg and do a life enhancement course, because my desire was to help people and to help other people grow and help other people be exposed to this material and knowledgeism. And I remember thinking, how am I going to be able to pay for Seal's flights and accommodation and all of this stuff? And it just all just fell into place, and it just worked. And that's where you begin to experience being at cause over time, space, and energy. And without realizing it, some of those things started to happen. And I was not deliberate around those things. I was deliberate around being on purpose, studying what I needed to study. I never set the intention to go to a Rich Dad book study and be in a room with the Rich Dad advisors, like Robert and Kenny McElroy and Andy Tanner, Blair Singer, Garrett Sutton. I had never ever set that intention, but that was one of the spin-offs of being in the gold zone and being on purpose, being on mission, and taking my next steps. And there were times where I was like, how did I do all this stuff? and people would say to me, oh, you're so lucky. You know, you got to do this. And it's funny because, I mean, one of the manifestations is there is number 13, lucky 13, because 13 for me is really lucky. It's one of my girls is born on the 13th. But, you know, people will say, oh, you're so lucky. And like I'd say to people, no, I'm not lucky. I did the work. I'm on purpose. I'm on mission. And as a result of that, and being on purpose and being on mission and doing the work and practicing, making lots of mistakes, learning again, relearning, studying some more, and getting better and better, and pretty much getting to a space where I was building myself towards mastery, I did get lucky. Because, you know, it was just, I mean, the timing of those trips going to Thailand. Michaela was writing her final year exams in high school. And if it had been any other dates, the timing just got, you know, it was like, no, it was lucky, but it was gold zone. And I mean, when we went to Australia, it was such short notice that we planned the trip. We got our visas the morning we were supposed to fly. So we bought our tickets at lunchtime and we flew at 8:00 in the evening, because I think we got our visas at 12. We bought our tickets at 1 and we flew that evening at 8. But it was just, everything just fell into place and it just was magical. And yeah, so it was just, there were so many little things like that. Like when we went to Australia, it was like, well, we don't know if we're going or not, but we're just, we're just trusting that we'll get our visas. We know that it'll happen. And that's what happened. And it was just, when I look back, there were so many, I say little things that happened like that, but they were big things. And it was just being, like they talk, being in the right place at the right time. Yeah, we were in the right place at the right time, and miracles did happen. And even like when we were in Australia, we got to spend, my nephew that we haven't seen for a very long time flew to Sydney and came and spent a couple of days with us. And it was just, there were so many things like that that just magically just happened. And but the biggest thing is that I was on purpose, I was on mission, and I was doing the work on mission. I didn't get lost in finding something else. I stayed on purpose, I stayed on mission, and I stayed true to the original intention, which was to become a processor and start building a team of processors. And in October last year, we had the first Vital Fundamentals of Processing course in South Africa or Africa. And we had 4 students come. And it's been amazing because I've now got 4 people that are being trained, and by December they'll have done the Vital Fundamentals of Processing 1 to 5. So we'll have 4 people that are trained in processing and are on their way to becoming processors, and already they have a client base. I've been working with them to build up teams of people and build their client base, and they're finding people that they can bring into processing, and it's just expanding from there. And the biggest thing is that I stayed on mission. My goal was always go get trained and then bring it back to last year. And another one of the things that was like, I got to speak on stage with Seal, Raul, and Jeff in Mexico. And that was pretty awesome too, because last year we spoke to, I guess it was about 2,000 people, I think. But that was something else. It was just so amazing. And again, that trip was timed around a course that we were doing in the US. So it just made sense that for us to go to Mexico, speak with Raul, go to the US. And the other thing that turned out magical was my dad lives in Canada. And so we were able to stop there and go and see him. And we didn't know at the time we booked our trip that his wife was really sick. And only a short time before we left, he then told us she was really sick and she was in the hospital. And we hadn't seen them, I don't know, for probably 5 years. And we got to go and spend time with her. And she passed away probably 2 weeks after that. And I mean, that was magical that we actually got to be there and spend some time with her and my dad, which wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been on purpose and going to the next course to train and expand myself. So it's, like Raul and I were saying, it's important to get a full holographic image of what it looks like. And it's all those little things that happen that we kind of sometimes take for granted if we're not aware of them and we're not acknowledging them. So it is important when you're in the golden magic zone to be aware of those things and acknowledge them and acknowledge the miracles and the magic that's happening around you. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Raul.
Yes, what I want to add is that, ladies and gentlemen, is the gold sun. That's it. That's what I want to add. So great. Yeah, thank you, Nicole. Wow. I mean, that's huge, and such a great description. And there's something that she didn't share. I mean, it was all those invites and all those events and all that bridge and all that important people. And on top of that, everything was paid for. I mean, everything for her and her family. I mean, that's just like, I mean, that's just pure magic. So great job. Thank you, Nicole. I think that it really creates a great understanding on that. And we want to, so let's do this. We want to hear from you. So what came up for you by reading that chapter? It has all those indicators, connected to the goal zone. So what came for you? Anything that you would like to share? And if you want to share, please just wave, or you can unmute yourself. But what we want to hear from you. And if you want to share, just let us know. Let's see, anyone that would like to share? We have some quiet people today. They're probably still with the experience with Nicole of the Goal Zone. Yeah, so any comments that you would like, anything that come to you for you while reading this chapter of the Goal Zone? Oh, and by the way, we have Inger. She had a couple of wins. She said, I did a clean slate process on selling and Facebook Live with Mix. That's great. Great job, Inger. And then win two. Finish reading Gods in Disguise. Fantastic. So congratulations, Inger. Congratulations on that. And one thing that I would say is just a couple things that you could do to just really use this chapter. And if you want to create a holographic understanding of the goal zone, so first recommendation, you can go back before chapter one. Before chapter one, there's a section in the book that it's called the definitions of the zones of life. So in that section, you will find the definition of the red zone, the yellow zone, the green, obviously the gold. So if you want to create a really good understanding of this, especially the golden magic zone, one thing you could do is read that definition of the golden magic zone, right? In there, just the section before chapter one, read the definition and then define any term in that definition that you don't fully understand. So read the definition and then define any term. The other thing you could do is you can clean slate, those terms in that definition. So read the definition, define any term that you don't understand, and then you can clean slate that term, and that's connected to the definition. And then the other thing that you could do is, besides defining terms and doing the clean slate, which is really, really, really powerful. So I'm going to put in the screen. This is a pretty simple process that you could actually run in each one of these 38 indicators. It could be a little bit of a work, but it would pay just to run this. Like, for example, the first indicator of the golden magic zone is vast quantities of free and positive life force particles, right? So what you could do with this process that you're seeing on the screen is just run it and put that indicator there. Like, get the idea of you having vast quantities of free and positive life force particles. And then just tell me about it. What problem could that create? How could you handle that? What could be the consequences of this? And then, have you ever had vast quantities of free and positive life force particles? If the answer is yes, what happened? So let's just run this just to make a, like a demonstration. But you can define any term or word that you don't understand in the definition of the goal zone, and then you can clean slate that term and you can run this process. So let's run this, Nicole. Can I run this on you just based on all that experience that you just shared with us? Would it be okay?
Perfect.
All right, so here we go. So get the idea of you having, and let me just put this one back into the page. So get the idea of you having vast quantities of free and positive life force particles.
Okay.
Thank you. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I just was able to get a feeling of freedom and feeling expanded and really big, and just being very much aware of the amount of life force particles that I do have.
Thank you. And what problem could that create?
It could create that I could turn on a lot of power.
Got it. And how could you handle that?
Yeah, just be very aware of how much power is being turned on, be very aware of how I'm using my power and that I'm using it in the right places for the right people. Um, yeah, and just using it in the right way.
Mhm. Got it. Thank you. And what will be the consequences of this?
Probably that I wouldn't have so much fear around power and that I'd be able to use my power more effectively.
Mm, great. Thank you. And have you ever had vast quantities of free and positive life force particles?
Yes, I have.
And what happened?
Yeah, it was just a couple of incidents came to mind of just how I was able to just really expand and just feel really, really happy, really powerful, and really excited.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Great job.
Thank you, Raul.
And great story, by the way. And, just great result that you got. So those are
It's
things.
funny.
Yes,
Something
yes,
just came to
go.
mind. I
Yeah.
wanted to share this is that when we were going to Thailand, we had the opportunity to upgrade our tickets to business class at a really ridiculous price. So we were able to, all four of us, fly business class. So the girls were able to have that experience as well. So it was just like little things like that that kept popping up through the process. So yeah.
Beautiful. Yay. And that's something that is going to happen. And that's why we wanted to share that tiny little process. Because if you run it, you're going to reconnect to those experiences and those moments and actually what you did to create that. So pretty simple things you could do. I mean, read the definition of the golden magic zone and then see if there's any term or word that you don't understand. You can define that, you can clean slate that, and you can run this process in each one of those indicators. That's something that is really going to help you just create a holographic understanding of this because it's vast, it's magical. But if you do that, I'm sure that that's going to be really, really helpful. So, Nicole, anything else that you would like to share? We're almost getting into the time to close this one, but anything else you would like to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to share, it starts little and it starts with being aware of what zone you're in. And I mean, for me, one of the big things was I was aware that I was in the red zone, but I did not want to know that I was in the red zone. And I didn't want anybody else to know that. But once I was able to know that and acknowledge that that's where I was, it was like it became so much easier for me to shift into a different zone because I became aware of it because I didn't want to know. I pretended I wasn't actually there, which is not ideal. So we have this zones of life webinar where we teach the zones and we do some presence, and that is on the 6th of November. And if it's a really great place to come and practice presence, understand the zones, and so if Camilla, if you could put that link there, that would be great. And it's a great space for you to invite friends, family, business colleagues, anybody that you would like to learn about the zones. It's a really great space to invite them into, and you can practice presence with them and meet people. Like Elle shared at the beginning, it's always great to connect with people that understand the technology. And so it's a great place to meet other people that are connected to the zones and this technology. So we'd love to have you join us. And then we also have the Life Enhancement course, which starts next week on the 4th of November. So anybody that's interested in that, feel free to reach out to us. And yeah, we'd love to have you join us at some of those events. So yeah, anything you want to add to those events, Raul?
Yeah, and thank you, Nicole. Yeah, just one thing because I think that is really clear, especially with your story, Nicole, how important it is to be on purpose, to actually, create that phenomena of being outside of space and time in the golden magic zone. So being on purpose, it's key. And I just got reminded, something that I saw in one lecture one time, and Alan was describing why he was basically working with a colleague, and he was called processing, and they were doing the same thing. They were, processing the same amount of hours and doing the same, right? But the results that Alan was getting were just golden, right? And what the other person was having was not quite that, but it was really the intention, because one of the intentions, and Alan shares that a lot through his work, the intention was actually to create the greatest good for the greatest number. I mean, he wanted to develop this technology, but not just for himself. I mean, he wanted to share that with, everyone pretty much, right? And then the other person was doing all that processing and studying all that, but really, for himself, right? So one of the keys is actually, creating, that intention to create the greatest good for the greatest number of people. And he also said, that goal or mission to make the competent more competent, to share that throughout the world, right? So that was part of the intention. And the reason that I'm sharing this on events and those free events, I mean, it's open. So you can be there, you're welcome. We have seen many of you in those events, but you can also invite, other friends, other people, just to get to know, the tech, just to, connect and do some presence. So it's great to have also the knowledge for self, but also if you, just help so that more people get this, it's another factor, just creating those exponential events. So we have a couple of questions. Do you want to touch on those, Nicole?
Yeah, so Inga was asking around what's happened with a similar study of Gods in Disguise. It was just last week. We were talking about whether we do a Gods in Disguise or Paradigm Matrix book study. So we have spoken about it. We just need to see where we can fit it into the schedule and how we can make it happen in the most optimum way to make it work. And yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything else. I think that's all.
Beautiful. So thank you so much, Nicole, and thank you everyone, and Alan. Oh yeah, Miracle. Sorry, Al. Miracles and Magic. Al, and anything that you wanted to share something, Al?
No, I just wanted to say, I don't know if any of y'all even know her, but she was one of the old timers with Knowledgeism, Helen, and that's the tape at the time. It was a tape that she gave me when I first visited, and it is, she thought, I think you could handle this. And it just really opened it up for me. And I guess that's still available. I don't know, probably not in a tape form, but it's, I think that's another good thing as far as the goal zone to look at,
Definitely. Thank you so much, Al. Thank you for sharing, and thank you everyone for being here. And so we're gonna be having those events, next week. So Camilo just shared the link into the chat. So feel free to join us and practice. But also, if you want to invite other people, I mean, those are free events, and we had really great wins, really great wins and great feedback from those events. So I hope you can join us, and also you can invite some people. That would be great as well. So I think that's it for today. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Camilo, for running the whole platform. And we're going to be here next week, same platform and same time. So just create a Goalzone week, and we'll see you here next week. Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Inger. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.